Zayin, Daf Zayin, one behind because they get together in Rosh Hashanah. Should be a good year for everybody. So we're about on Daf Zayin and Aleph, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth line, fifth wide line.
We're continuing from
Yeah. So we skipped it. We're behind the day, and we'll get cash up the next couple of days, whatever. Next time we have an opportunity. We didn't get till Gufa. That's a few lines.
Sorry, did you say Daf Zion? I thought we were on
Did we not?
Mechitim. I don't remember where we are. Aren't we on Daf Zion for today?
I think so. Gufa. That's on Daf Zayin. Amud Aleph. What is it? The sixth wide line, 3, 4, fifth wide line. Gufa. This
Oh,
starts-
Gufa. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a side subject which doesn't have anything. It had a little bit to do with what we tried to figure out. Rav said a statement before that an egg is only considered born when it's completely came out of the hen, and we had difficulty figuring out what that means, and we figured it out at the end. But just as a side point, the Gemara tried to talk about when is it parv? When does the egg become a parv egg, and it's not a fleshing egg, it's not a meat? Because that when in the production of the egg, so in the beginning stages, it's still considered part of the hen, so it's mother. So just like everything else inside is fleshing, is basari, so the egg also. But when it comes at a certain point, it becomes parv, and you're allowed to eat it with the milk. So the Gemara goes off on the side. It's going to be about 10, 15 lines, 20 lines maybe about this side subject. Gufa, we learned before. This is a subject on its own, even if you didn't not connected to it before. This is a subject on its own. If somebody shechted a Tarnagolas, hen, and he found in it completed eggs, it's more to eat with milk. It means it's not considered psari, it's not considered egg. The word gemuras means completed egg. We're going to see right away that even if it's not so completed, also the Tanakama holds that it's considered par. Rav Yaakov says that if it's still intertwined in the veins, means that in the production of an egg, there's a certain stage where it's still somewhat connected to the chicken. So he says then it's still usher. It's only when it's completed. And I'd like to find out more about the stages of the production. When does it get the shell? They talk about it over here, the hard shell. At what stage is that produced? But there's a certain stage before that it's still intertwined with the mother. The mother has some gidin over there, some veins that are connected. There may be blood vessels. I don't know. We'll try to find out the physical part. But he says that if it's still connected to the mother, so it's usher. Only when it's completely the shell, the hard shell. Even though he also agrees that even if you shechted the chicken and you found the completed egg, mamish with the shell, he also agrees that it's parv. But there's an earlier stage that the Tanakhama holds that it's also parv, and that Rav Yaakov says no, that's considered meaty. That's still considered if it's still muros means connected. Rashi says, so then it's still considered part of the chicken, and it's considered meat, and you're allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to eat it together with milk. It's considered a fleshing egg. So you can put it into the chunk, yeah, but you can't put it into. You can't have it with the cheese. You know, you want to have your egg with cheese. You can't have this. Is a fleshing egg. So what do we have? Everybody holds that up as a completed egg, mamish complete. So then everyone knows that it's parv, even though you found it inside the chicken. You've shechted the chicken, you found it, but there's an earlier stage that's not completely finished, and Tanakhama would say that it's also parv, and the Rav Yaakov says no, that's still considered meaty. Who's the author of the following brisa? We have machlokas now we have a brisa which the Gemara thinks is one-sided. It says in the brisa, so there's a din about nivla softar, dead kosher bird. So nevela means that it was not shechted, and that happens if a chicken died, whatever, or if they didn't do a good shechita, so it's a nevela. So the din of nivla softar is that if you touch it, it doesn't make you tamei, but if you eat it, that's only the tamei b'beis abliya. You only tamei when you eat it. You're not allowed to eat it because it's treif. But besides being treif, you also become tamei. So that's a special din of nivla softar, the dead kosher bird. So over there, we have to know what's considered meat. It's only if you eat from the meat of the non-kosher of the dead kosher bird. So what's considered meat? What's not considered meat? So the brisa says a list of things that are not considered part of the chicken, the bird, and those that are considered. So it says, we're going to get back to this again. This is going to be part of our subject, which maybe we'll talk about what that might mean. And then let's go on, just to get a general idea. Then it says, all these things are Torah. That's not considered part of the bird. So we understand the bones are meat, and the gidin, the things are also not meat. And if someone would have not that it's a dead bird, but from a live bird, they pulled off a piece of meat, that's not called nevela. So it's not, all these cases are not called basar or nevela. The first case, yes, go ahead.
What's about Ever Minachah?
We're not saying you're allowed to eat it. We're not saying that it's not considered basar nevela. It's not called basar nevela, and this is special din that if somebody eats nivla sof Torah, becomes tamei. This is not it. There might be other avera. There's another avera. Not talking about that. But I'm saying that it's not considered basar nevela.
Sorry, what's the definition of shalashal
I
beitz?
said I left it out. Here we go back. Now we go back. What does shalashal beitz mean? So the Gemara thinks that it means the track of eggs of the egg that's being produced. I don't know what you call that track, but inside the chicken there's some production line of the eggs. So the eggs that are on that track are not considered part of the chicken. It's not the chicken. It's the egg. The chicken is producing an egg. So the egg that inside the hen there's an egg being produced. So that egg, which is not the chicken, it's not the chicken. So if somebody would have eaten it,
being meat at that point.
so even though it's not, so the chicken died. It's a dead chicken, and if you eat any part of that of the meat, so that's the nivelos of Torah, you become tamei. But if you eat the egg, you didn't eat the chicken. That's what the Brisa says. And the Gemara is going to bring this back to the subject about Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbanan. When is it considered part of the meat? The same way we have a question: is it considered meat as far as eating it together with cheese? Is it basar b'cholov? So he said that there's machlokes if the egg in the early stage what stage does it become parv? So the Gemara thinks that it's dependent on the same question. When is it considered b'sar vela? The two subjects should be the same thing. One is the gabe if it's considered meat or milk, a parv or meaty, as far as eating it together with the milk. The other question is if it's considered b'sar vela as far as this halach of tumah, that a person becomes tamei when he eats nivla sof tahor. The Gemara thinks that it's interdependent. So far it says that if someone eats the eggs that are being produced inside the chicken, that's not considered eating the chicken. The Brisa continues. Now it tells. So that's what we're trying to say. We're saying that the Gemara is going to try to connect these two subjects. We'll see how the Gemara is going to analyze the Brisa. Now it says in the Sefer, the Brisa continues. So
Rashi uses a lashon of kavuin b'shidra.
Okay, it's on the track that's producing the eggs. So Rashi is telling us that it's on the spinal line over there. Okay, we have to get. I'd like to get more information about the biology, the anatomy of the chicken. We'll hope to find out maybe by tomorrow. But meanwhile, we're just taking what the Gemara says, that is the egg that's being produced. So the period says that it's not considered part of the chicken. The Brisa continues.
Even though Rashi says kalamer ha'ichalaisim beisim ba'odim ma'urim begidin. Min ha'shalal mishal beisim kashen kavushim shalulu kavuin b'shedra.
Okay, so that's what the Gemara is going to say, that this seems to be the machlokes case. The Gemara thinks that this case of the egg is not that it's a completed egg, it's an uncompleted egg. And here it says that it's not considered the chicken. So the Gemara is going to say this might be the machlokes. That's what the Gemara wants.
Yeah, further down, Rashi says in lashon of karovim lios basar to be a gezerah of basar v'chalav, but not enough to be matame.
Let's just try to get. Let's just read the words first, and then we'll try to. If any kashas, we'll see. So first it says shalal shal beitzim, and it says that's not considered part of the chicken. Now it says mina eshkol shal beitzim. So usually, the word eshkol usually means a cluster, but that doesn't mean a cluster over here. But we'll try to figure out what it means. Rashi takes us to think that maybe it means the actual organ, the organ which is producing the eggs. So that is considered meat. So that if someone eats that, that's that's nivla sof Torah. And also the korban, I think they call it gizzard. Maybe that's okay. A part of the digestive tract, the digestive tract of the chicken. With the name Mahayin, the intestines. If he rendered the fat and swallowed it, he drank it. Also, it's considered nivla sof Torah. All this is tummy. So for our purposes, the other halachas over here also. But as far as we're concerned, as far as the eggs, is the safe. The Reisha says shalal considered part of the chicken, and eshkol shal beitzim is considered part of the chicken. Who's the author that says that the shalal shal beitzim, what the Gemara thinks now, which Rabbi Lezer said, like Rashi thinks that it is beitzim, that it is connected to it's still connected to the chicken, that it's not considered the chicken. On Rav Yosef, the local Rabbi Yaakov, it must be against Rabbi Yaakov, because Rabbi Yaakov holds that it is considered a fleshig egg. That means it is considered part of the chicken. The same way as far as the basar b'cholov is considered meat. So too, as far as nivla sof Torah, it also should be considered meat. So it must be the local Rabbi Yaakov. This Brisa must be against Rabbi Yaakov. The Rabbi Yaakov, Amrim Haimu is begidin asuros, and the shalal shal beitzim, this egg on the track, the Gemara thinks that it's connected to the mother. and therefore it should be considered meat according to Rabbi Yaakov. Since the Brisa says that it's not meat, so it's against Rabbi Yaakov. Not a kasha.
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
The word gam-o, when you said he melted the chalev or where he rendered the fat and he swallowed it, is that what that word means?
Right. It means he's swallowing it as a liquid. And the chiddush is that even though he didn't eat it, he drank it. Also, that's
I see. Swallowed it.
right. And that's not a chiddush. That's not a get to us now, but that's a side point. In Nivlas Oftar, that's a chiddush. Even though the pasuk says if he eats it, there's a reboot to say even if he drinks it is also considered eating. Well, sorry, a side chiddush. We just need the eshkol shol, the shlal shol beitzim and the eshkol shol beitzim. The Ikra Yaakov, yeah. So that was a Yosef's point that the Brisa that says that the egg on the track inside in the hen being produced, that even while it's connected to the chicken, it's still not considered meat, is against Rabbi Yaakov. Abai says no, not necessarily. Who says maybe there's difference between the Isra of eating basar b'chalav and the tumah that it gives off tumah. And Rashi explains that, of course, there's no real difference, but it might be on Rabbanan level. There might be that inherently it's both the same. If it's considered meat here, it's considered meat over there.
But tumor is only applicable to if it's meat and not if it's.
Yes, nivla softar. Nivla softar. This tumah is only miyuchad for nivla softar, the meat of a dead kosher bird. So it has to be meat. If it's not meat, like we saw, the bones, these things, that doesn't have. So is this considered meat or not? So the one is saying that maybe this brisa could be like Rabbi Yaakov, and he himself, when he said you're not allowed to eat it together with milk, it's only with Rabbanan. He also agrees that with the rice it's not considered meat, and therefore by the Nevel it's not meat. The reason why he says don't eat it with the milk is only with Rabbanan, and the Gemara is going to explain why he made a gzera with Rabbanan only by the issue of eating meat and milk, and he didn't make a gzera Rabbanan by tumah also to say that it's considered meat as far as nivla softar. That's what Abai is going to suggest. Let's just bring it up a little bit at a time. Too much. Who said If Yaakov has said that if it's connected to the mother, it's considered meat only as far as the isser of meat and milk. Maybe for tumah he didn't make that gzera rabbanan. And you might say, what's the difference? If you make a gzera rabbanan because it's close to being meat, so then also make the gzera by tumah also that it should also be considered meat with rabbanan. The word afushe means to increase. It's increasing tumah, and we don't want to increase tumah. It means that there's a hesitation to increase tumah because if you make something tameh, even though there's a reason to make it tameh with rabbanan because of a gzera sometimes, but there's a loss. There's a downside because if it'll touch taurus, something truma or something like that, kashim, so you're going to have to you can't eat it. You're not going to burn it, but you're not going to eat it. So you're losing out hefsed taurus. So we do take into consideration the loss of taurus. We're easier to make a gzera on basar b'chalav than to make on tumah. We don't want to make more tumah because hefsed taurus. So that's the end of the Gemara. So we didn't finish everything yet, but that's the end of this point that the Gemara gives the possibility that even if Yaakov that says that you're not allowed to eat the eggs together with the milk, if they're still connected to the mother, you shechted the hen and you found the eggs still intertwined with the mother, he says you're not allowed to eat it with milk, it's considered meaty, maybe only with Rabbanan, and that with Rabbanan, he didn't make it by Tumah.
So it doesn't affect it, doesn't make him tumor.
So maybe it doesn't matter, because everyone holds them with the rice and not, and even we didn't know this till now, that's only with Rabbanan. We thought maybe it might have been the rice according to Rabbi Yaakov. Now the Gemara is saying no, that even if Yaakov holds with the rice that's not considered meat, only with Rabbanan and Gzera, and that Gzera only made by basar b'chalav, we didn't make by Tumah. Because we're scared to make, we're more hesitant to make Gzera with Rabbanan on Tumah, because then you might lose out and make the Tumah Tameh, and you lose out the Tumah for no reason. So that's the reason why he might have differentiated between Isser and Tumah. Make sense?
So it's also to eat, or I shouldn't say that.
It's also to eat with milk. It's also to eat with milk.
Exactly.
Right, also to eat with milk. But not necessarily is he going to make that Gzera Rabbanan and make it considered nivla softar. So if that if he ate the dead kosher bird, you say that he ate meat? No, it's not meat. It's not part of it. He also agrees that with the rice that's not considered part of the chicken. And with Rabbanan, he didn't want to make it Gzera Rabbanan because he might lose out on taurus. The Gemara has another version of this. Where is that? Yeah, Ikadamri. The last two words on the line are Ikadamri. Another version of this whole discussion. Mantana mina eshkol shel beitzim tamei. Now we're going to the Sefer. The Sefer said shlal shel beitzim is not considered part of the chicken, and eshkol shel beitzim is. So before I translated it according to Rashi, eshkol shel beitzim is the actual organ which produces the eggs, the track itself, which produces the eggs, and that's surely part of the chicken. But the Gemara at this point, this
we call that the ovary, correct?
It's the track. The whole channel. So I don't know the names of that. I'll try to find out. I do have some information.
What, the fallopian tubes or the ovary? The ovary is where the eggs are. They go down the fallopian tubes.
After, but by a chicken, you have to know how a chicken looks at how a chicken's organs are, and it means after the egg has already been let out, and now it's going through the duct, and the whole process of becoming a full egg. So the yolk comes out. Out of the ovaries, only the egg comes out. And then in the whole day's process, the whole day's travel that takes a day to produce an egg, so it gets everything else besides the yolk. That much I did see, that when it comes out of the ovary, so then it's going to only be the yolk, and everything else that comes out, the albumin and the other parts of the egg. Halaz, I'll try to find the other parts. So
What's the art scroll say? What is Leib has an art scroll? What's it say there for Eshkol?
Sorry, I do not have an art scroll here.
Okay, we'll get it. Maybe I have a very nice some pictures about the production of an egg. Maybe it'll be helpful. I'll try to get it on the screen tomorrow. But just for now, so the Gemara thinks at this point that it's not the actual channel, the track of the hen, which is the Eshkol Shel Beitzim. The Gemara thinks that it's the eggs. Here, the Gemara thinks that it's the eggs that are connected to the mother. This was the Gemara's Ikad Amri. That when Eshkol Shel Beitzim Tameh, it is considered part of the mother. Rav Yosef, Rav Yaakov. According to this understanding, the Shlal Shel Beitzim are the eggs that are already completed and not connected to the mother at all. A full egg that's not connected, that's Torah. But if the egg is connected to the mother, so then the brass called Eshkol Shel Beitzim, and it is considered meat. And Rav Yosef says, according to this Ikadami, there must be only Rav Yaakov, because according to the Tanna Kama, even if it's still intertwined, it's still connected to the mother, it's not considered part of the meat. But according to the Tanna Kama, that even if it's intertwined with the mother's gidin, it's still independent and it's not considered part of the mother, so then it shouldn't be tameh either. So this version is going on the Seifa and saying that the Seifa is not like Rav Yaakov, and the Reisha that says Shlal Shel Beitzim Mistor is completed egg and it's not connected at all.
I'm sorry, Yaakov is saying in the Holy Lures they give Surah.
Yes, that doesn't change. Rav Yaakov surely said that. Rav Yaakov said that it's considered meat. You're not allowed to eat it together with milk. If that doesn't change in the whole discussion. Rav Yaakov said that if the eggs are still connected to the mother, when you shechted the chicken, the eggs were intertwined with the mother's veins over there, so then it's considered a meat. And now the question is, what does the Brisa hold? So in this Ikadamri, the Brisa holds like Rav Yaakov, because the Shlal Shel Beitzim is this already completed eggs, disconnected from the mother. That's why it's par. It's a completed egg with the shell and everything, and that's why it's par. And the Eshkol Shel, and that's Tahor. And the Eshkol Shel Beitzim is when it's still connected to the mother, and that's why it's Tameh. After according to Rav Yaakov, because according to Rabbanan, even if it's Mu'ez Begidin, it's still going to be a par egg. So if it's a par egg, it's going to be eating it together with cheese, so then it's also going to be not part of the mother as far as this halach of tumah. No, that's not. You got the wrong shot. Eshkol Shel Beitzim does not mean the eggs that are intertwined with the mother. Eshkol Shel Beitzim means the actual tract, as we thought the whole time. Why do you think that the eshkol means the eggs that are hanging on the eshkol? No, it means the eshkol itself. It means the actual organ that produces the egg. That's considered meat, and that everyone surely agrees to that. From those that are hanging on the eshkol, no, maybe it means the eshkol itself. The eshkol is the organ that produces the egg. The Gemara first thought that even though it says that goes without saying that the organ is considered meat. That's not a question. The Brisa must have meant the eggs that are intertwined with that organ. And then if according to that, if it says that it's considered meat, that's only according to Rav Yaakov, because Rabbanan would argue and say that even if it's intertwined, it's not considered meat. It's part. But the Gemara says no. The Brisa means that the organ itself is meat, and that the Gemara says what's the chiddush? Of course, that's meat. The Brisa wouldn't have to speak out that the actual organ is considered part of the chicken. Of course, it's a chicken. The Gemara says yes.
You know, it's an organ from the chicken.
So surely it's a chicken. No, the answer is we did have a korban of bnei mayim. No, there is a chiddush. Even though the korban, I think they call it the gizzard or the intestines, that of course is part of the chicken, but it's a chiddush that is considered nivlas of tahor. You might say that it's not considered meat. Since there are some people that don't eat it, even though it's meat, but some people don't eat it. Same thing as bones. We said bones is part of the chicken, but it's tahor, the nivlas of tahor, because it's not meat. It has to be the basar. And the question is this considered basar or not? So it's true. It is part of the chicken, but is it considered basar? That most people say some people don't eat it. Nowadays nobody eats it. You don't find it at all. But in those days people did eat it, but some people didn't eat it. So maybe it's not considered meat. So therefore, it's Lashmi now. That's why you have to tell us. That's the end of the brisa. That's the chazer over. We had a machlokas as far as parv eggs. At what stage does the egg become parv? Everybody agrees that if it's completed and it's not connected to the mother at all, even though you found it inside, it's parv. But if it still is intertwined with the mother's gidim, so maybe it is a flesh egg. That's machlokas. Tanakam holds that as parv, and that's what we paskin. Yaakov holds that it's considered meat. It's considered meaty. And the Gemara has a discussion. We find a similar parallel halacha that talks about what's considered nivla sof tor, as far as the halacha becoming tamei, that eating a dead kosher bird makes a person tamei. What stage of the eggs is it considered meat or not? So the Gemara comes out that the organ itself is surely meat, and the question is, and the eggs which are completed are surely not, and the issue of the eggs that are intertwined, which had a machlokus over here by us, if it's considered meat or not, as far as basar b'cholav, the Gemara has a possibility that even if you hold that it is considered meat, it's only on a drabanan level, but they didn't want to make that drabanan on tumah. That's all according to Rabbi Yaakov. We passed like the drabanan that is considered parb, even if it's still connected to the mother. And that's the end of that subject. Now we start a new subject. It doesn't usually happen to us because we don't get these eggs. I think I once did see a shayla from Rav Moshe Feinstein that the companies who make eggs on a big scale to companies to use the eggs, they're not going to stop cracking the eggs. So they might, take part of these tracks of eggs and put the whole thing in. So there might be a question of fleshig eggs over there. So I think you had a tshuva about that, but I don't remember. But in our regular daily eggs, we're never going to see any of this. You're not going to get a chicken with an egg inside. So practical application, it doesn't have.
But the right word should mean about
Over there, as far as the whole companies that they make these whole things, I don't know. I think I saw years ago, Moshe spoke about it, but I'm not sure. Maybe I made a mistake about that also. New subject altogether. The Gemara is going to talk about Beis Yishnol B'Yom Tov. What do we have? Back to the Mishnah in the beginning. Beis Yishnol B'Yom Tov is also to you have to wait till Matzah Yom Tov. So here the Gemara talks about the nature of a chicken, of a hen. Does it lay an egg at night or only in the day? I don't know too much about it, but I do know that those the chicken farms, they have all kinds of lighting issues. They make it dark and then they make it light again. The chickens produce more eggs because they go with the sun, with the light. So they put it on, put it off. I'm not sure what they do. So here the Gemara talks about the fact that usually chickens don't lay eggs in the night, only in the day. And that's going to have relevance to our subject that you come up in the morning, Yom Tov morning, you come and you find an egg that was laid, and you don't know if it was Erev Yom Tov or maybe it was at night. And the issue is going to be that it's not so probable that it was born at night because chickens don't lay eggs at night. So if you come early in the morning by Moshe Shachar and you see an egg over there, say maybe you could assume that it was from before Yom Tov and you're allowed to eat it. If you know that it was born on Yom Tov, then it's usher. And maybe even if it's a doubt, also maybe have to be. We'll see. We said the Gemara said we have to be machmir also because of a sheish l'matirin. But if you have a good chance that it was born in the daytime, there's more reason to be lenient. And the Gemara is going to entertain the possibility, not the possibility, but the fact that chickens don't usually lay eggs at night, and maybe that's enough reason to assume that it was born before Yom Tov came in, and that'll be mutter. I just gave a little introduction, a preview of what we're going to talk about. So it starts the Brisa Tanur Rabbanan. It says in the side that Yoled, but the issue is it's going to say Nola the whole time, but the issue is going to be that it gives birth. Any species of we'll talk about animals, birds, all kinds of things that their nature is that they only mate in the daytime. So then they only give birth in the daytime. That's also part of their nature. The same way that their nature is that they only mate in the daytime, they also give birth only in the daytime. Those species that they only mate at nighttime, so they only give birth at nighttime. But the species that mate both in the day and in the night, so they give birth both in the day and in the night. That's the Brisa. And that Brisa explains, or the Gemara explains, a chicken, a hen, and a rooster, they only mate during the day. They don't mate at night. So they also the hen only lays eggs only in the daytime. That's its nature. A bat. I don't know how the Gemara knows, but the bat only mates at nighttime, and it also only gives birth at nighttime. Those species that they mate both in the daytime and in the nighttime, that their nature doesn't stop them from having relations both at night, both in the day. So then that's a human being, and any other species which are similar to that, probably it means most other species of animals also, they also have relations, they'll mate both in the day, both in the night, so they can give birth both in the day and in the night. Okay, so far we just had of the physical facts, like that's the no halacha yet. We're just talking about the facts that a chicken only lays eggs at night, and a bat will only give birth only, I don't know, it's eggs. I don't know what it does over there by the bats, if it's eggs or it's gives birth to the bat itself.
Chickens by day.
Chicken only in the day, bats only at night, and everything else both in the day and the night.
Now with the lights on at night, you know.
Okay, so you make your synthesized lights. Okay. But the point is, one is that in the daytime. Omamar.
Bat is, so they say, a flying mouse.
Yeah, but we call it bat, yeah. So here it says that it only gives birth at night. It only mates at night, and it only gives birth at night. I don't know how did they figure that out? I don't know, but that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara's not going to talk about that. The Gemara is just going to talk about the chicken. The master said, the Brisa said, calls to the Shmisha B'Yom Nolav Yom Zutana Golas. The Ma'an Afkamina, is there any halachic implications about that? And the Gemara says yes, it has to do with our halacha about Beit Shnol B'Yontiv. The Cheder of Mori B'Eder of Kana, it has application to because of Mori B'Eder of Kana's halacha, which he was based on this. The Mori B'Eder of Kana, Vadak B'Kina Shaltana Golan, Be'ev Yontiv. Before Yontiv came in, right before Yontiv, you checked the chicken coop, and you saw that there's no egg over there. There's no egg. So, okay, there's no egg. Now, and then the next morning, Yontif morning, you got up early before Rosh Hashanah, and you found an egg over there. So everything would say it must have been born on Yontif. I checked right before Yontif, there was no egg, and now there's an egg. So when did it come? It must have been that it was born on Yontif. No, Muteres. You're allowed to eat it. Because what? Because it was definitely not born at night. Based on the fact that, and the physical fact we just said that eggs are not born at night, so it must be that it was born before.
When he checked it, he missed
Oh, so the Gemara says you checked. You checked. He said there was no egg. He didn't check very well. He missed it. He looked. He missed it. Must have missed it because it doesn't. The physical facts are that it doesn't get born at night. And what if he says I did check very well? Even if he did check well and there wasn't an egg, so wow, how did this miracle happen that it was born before and I didn't see it? Rabbi Yochanan before said earlier on yesterday's daf, the day before, top of the page over there, Rabbi Yochanan said if the hen laid most of the egg came out, but then it went back in again. Not a usual thing; it doesn't usually happen, but it's considered born already. And even if it comes out after it was on Yontif, it's still mutter because it was already born before Yontif. Rabbi Yochanan said that. Maybe the ones that earlier said maybe Rav argues on that, but let's take Rabbi Yochanan. So if the egg came out of the hen, most of it, the majority came out, and then it went back in again, it's considered born. And if that happened on Erev Yontif, even though it came out the second time on Yontif, it's considered born already before Yontif. It's Beit Shnol the Erev Yontif. Just that. It was artificial that it went back in again and came out. It was already born before. So even though it doesn't happen too often, but here, the chances that it was born at night are much less, that it doesn't give birth at night. And therefore, we'd rather say that this strange thing happened before Yontif. And that's why you didn't see it, because it did come out of the hen, but it went back in again. And then when you checked, it was inside the chicken again. And then it came out for the second time at night. That's not called giving birth. That just came out. It came out the second time. Because we'd rather say that than to say it was born at night, because chickens don't give birth at night. The Master Kasha, everything's good so far, but the Mar says that someone says differently. He seems to say the exact opposite. He says that if you check the nest, the coop, before Yontif, there was no egg, and then in the morning you get up and you see there is an egg, it is us. You do have to be choshesh that it was born at night. He seems to say the opposite. Does he not agree? We just said that it's not mistaber that it was born at night, and probably it was there before and you didn't see it. And even if you mamish checked and it wasn't there, it's because it was really born, but then it went back in again. So does Rav argue on Rav Mori, Ray, the Rav Kana? So the Gemara says no, there's a difference between a fertilized egg and an unfertilized egg. Hasam by the Safta Mayara. Safta Mayara is what the Gemara calls unfertilized eggs. The word Safta, we had it on top of the page, and the Gemara seems to say, based on Rashi, the Gemara seems to say that a chicken would not lay an egg. We look at it that the chicken lays an egg regardless if there's a rooster or not, if it's fertilized, not fertilized. The egg goes once a day, and if it gets fertilized, it's fertilized. If not, not. But the Gemara looks at it differently, that it only lays an egg if there's a rooster around. And if it lays an egg when there's no rooster, the Gemara has how did it happen? And the Gemara calls it Safta Mayara, which Rashi seems to say that when it is mitaper, like it rubs against the earth. And I think the pshat is that Rashi means to say that it has to stimulate the mechanism, whatever we'll call it, the whole, whatever the system that produces the egg, it has to be stimulated. So it's not going to be by rooster, so it'll be artificially by rubbing itself against the earth. But anyway, that's called, well, as far as we're concerned, it's called unfertilized egg. If there's no rooster around, so it could lay a unfertilized egg at night. Not even more saying the difference between a fertilized egg that they had, if it made it with a rooster, and now it's going to be a fertilized egg that only is going to lay in the daytime. But if it's an unfertilized egg, because there's no rooster around, so then it could happen at night, could lay it at night also. And that's why the Gemara says here, the second case, it said that it's also because it's an unfertilized egg. That could happen at night. The Gemara asks, so then how could the Mari say a statement that if you find the egg in the morning, it's mutter because it must have been from before? Maybe it's unfertilized egg. If you say that such a mitzvah, only a fertilized egg is the one that doesn't born at night, but an unfertilized egg could be born at night. So maybe that's what happened. How can you say that it's mutter? Maybe it's unfertilized egg and it was born at night. The answer is when there's a rooster around. As if to say, when there's a rooster around, so then it's not going to be unfertilized egg. Tomorrow says, well, who says? Even if there's a rooster around, but maybe this is unfertilized egg. The Gemara says no such thing. When there's a rooster in the vicinity, it's not going to produce an unfertilized egg. We have to check out if we know this to be so today. Is this what we see? Well, they tell us in the chicken farms that that's what happens. If there's a rooster around, it's not going to lay an egg that's unfertilized.
So what does Rabina say?
Ravina says that the facts are that when there's a rooster around, it doesn't lay an unfertilized egg.
That means Gemiri means.
Gemiri means we have a Masorah, like we know a fact that whenever there's a rooster around, it's not going to lay an unfertilized egg. So what does the Gemara say so far? That if there's no rooster around and it could be laying unfertilized eggs, then it can happen at night also. But if it's a fertilized egg, if there's a rooster around, then one's not going to say that after that it was fertilized. If there is a rooster around, it's not going to lay unfertilized egg, and therefore, and a fertilized egg is only born in the daytime. Ba'ad kama, and how much is called there's a rooster in the vicinity? How close is there that there's a rooster around that it's not going to lay unfertilized egg? Amar Rav Gamda Mishmei the Rav Kalecha the Shama. The next page. Kalecha the Shama Kolei Bimama. If it's within earshot that the hen will hear the rooster, that's pretty far. But it has to be also in the daytime. Rashi and Teshuvos both say that the sound travels more at night. The Gemara says that also. It's based on the Gemara. In where? In Brachos? Maybe in Yuma. The Gemara talks about it.
How come they don't talk about having access to each other?
Oh, the Gemara's going to say that in a second. It's only when there's access. But first, the Gemara says that if it's as long as it's within earshot, so then the hen knows there's a rooster around,
Right.
so it's not going to lay unfertilized egg, only a fertilized egg, and a fertilized egg is only born in the daytime.
Excuse me, Rav. Does that mean that if the hen hears the sound at night, it could be from far away, and that will not arouse them or detain them from doing something else during the day?
Then it'll lay unfertilized egg. But if it's close enough to hear it, even in the daytime, that's the time that it has tashmish. That's the time that it mates. And if it hears the roosters in the vicinity, it's not going to lay unfertilized egg. That's what the Gemara seems to say. The Gemara goes further. Mori Paskin, he relied on this scientific fact. Even 60 houses means that there was a rooster.
Wow.
There was a hen that laid an egg on Yom Tif, and the question was it born at night or not? And if there was a rooster 60 houses away, that was still close enough that the hen would have heard the rooster, and it would not have laid unfertilized egg. It was only fertilized, and therefore, and that only be in the daytime. So even if it's very far away, that's close enough within the vicinity. 60 houses, not so much as far as the rooster growing, I think. So you could hear very far away. So he said that it wouldn't have laid unfertilized egg at night. Then the Gemara goes on, but Chaim Dov said about access. If there's a river that's blocking, so it's not going to cross the river. And I think the case is that the hen sees the unfertilized egg. That's not called access. Avra, if there's a bridge, so then it could cross. So then it won't lay the egg. Metzra, Rashi explains it's like a difficult way to cross. It's very thin board. And Bakoshi, a difficulty, you could cross it. Rashi explains that it's a thin board and you have to hold on to the rope.
Mitzvah, that's the narrow board.
Right, and therefore the rooster wouldn't cross it, either the rooster or the hen, they wouldn't cross it, and therefore it's considered no access. But sometimes it does. There was a story that there was a hen and a rooster, and there was a small way to cross the river, and they did in order to mate. They even went out a dangerous crossing in order to mate. Anyway, what does the Gemara say? It comes out of all this halacha that when there's a rooster around, it's only going to lay an egg in the daytime. When there's no rooster around, so then it'll lay an unfertilized egg even at night. And that has ramifications as far as Yom Tov. If you found the egg early in the morning, and the question is, was it born at night? You have to be choshesh that it's possible to be born at night. If there's a rooster in the vicinity, there's no tzad to say that it was born at night, so it must have been born before Yom Tov. If not, if there's no rooster, then it could have been born at night, then it's also based on the Yom Tov. But Mayu Kimta, but the Safna Me'ara. So we said that the case that we said that it's usher is if there's no rooster around and it's unfertilized egg, can be born at night, and therefore, if you get up in the morning and you see the egg, it is usher because it was born at night. But the way Rav said it was that you checked it before Yom Tov. Yom Tov came in, you checked there was no egg, and then in the morning you find there's an egg. That's very limiting. Then it had to be in. But if you say that it was a case of unfertilized egg, so then why are you so limiting? Even if you didn't check it out before Yom Tov, you come in the morning on Yom Tov and you see an egg, and it could have been born at night because it's unfertilized egg. There's no rooster around, so it could have been born. And the Gemara said before, the Vayisafik Itzasa. The Gemara said a couple of pages ago that either if you hold like Rabbah, one of the Rabbahs the Raisa, Safik the Raisa Lachumra, or even if you hold that as Rabbanan, but the Davashesh Lamatirin is also Safik also. Not only is it not bottled, the Gemara came out that also Safik is also. So if you have an egg on Yom Tov, if you don't know if it was born on Yom Tov or before Yom Tov, the Gemara says Safik also, that you have to be choshesh that it was born on Yom Tov. So over here, if you have an egg, you didn't check before Yom Tov. Yom Tov in the morning, you get up before Alos HaShachar, you go to the chicken coop, you see an egg. So it could be that it was before Yom Tov, but it could have also been on Yom Tov. So it should be Yasa. So why does Rav say at the bottom of the previous page? Let's jump a second to the bottom of the previous page. Here was Rav. What is that? 5 lines from the bottom. Here is Badak. Here is the word. I missed it. Badak. Badak Pekina shall time ago is very Yom Tov V'lo Matzav Beitza. You checked out before Yom Tov, and then tomorrow you found an egg in the morning. Alos Shachar, it's Aser. And the Gemara said Dafka when it's unfertilized, when there's no rooster around. And why is it Aser? Because it does lay an unfertilized egg at night. So why does he say Dafka if you checked out before Yom Tov and there's no egg? That you limited it. That I checked out before Yom Tov, and now I found it in the morning. It must be from Yom Tov. Even without that, if I checked it in the morning, and the possibility is that it was born at night because an unfertilized egg is born at night. And even though it's possible it was in the daytime, every Yom Tov, but I have to be choshesh. Safek should be yasa. So that's the Morris Kasha. Here, go on top line over here. Even if you didn't check the hoop right before Yom Tov, and it's possible that it was there before, but it's also possible that it was not. So how come you say that it's mashma that it will be mutter? The answer is if you didn't check it, then we say, since it's possible that it was Merev Yom Tov, we say probably it was the day before. Here the Gemara is not saying that Rashi and Tosfos explain, even though an unfertilized egg could be born at night, but it's still more mistaber that it was in the daytime. It means a fertilized egg is impossible at night. A fertilized egg could be at night. I said the way a non-fertilized egg could be at night, but still it's more, even unfertilized egg are usually in the daytime also. It's like Rob said, rove. So if you have a possibility that this egg was born in the daytime, Erev Yom Tov, or at night, the night of Yom Tov, so we will say that's probably from the daytime. It's more mistaber. If you have no reason to think it was at night, we'll say that it was in the daytime. So then it's mutter. Again, if you checked in the morning, only in the morning, you didn't check when Yom Tov came in. Yom Tov came in, you were in shul already. You didn't check the chicken coop. You were in the morning, by Alos HaShachar, you checked there's an egg over there. Was it born at the nighttime? It's possible, but it's more mistaber that it was born before, because even unfertilized eggs, usually they're born in the daytime also. Hens usually lay their eggs in the daytime. So if you checked it right before Yom Tov and there's no egg, and then you checked it in the morning, so then it's unfertilized egg, so it's possible it was born at night. So it is going to be also. But if you didn't check it right before Yom Tov came in, and it's possible that it's Merev Yom Tov, then it's going to be mutter. Because chances are that, but if it's a fertilizer, if there's a rooster around, then it's impossible that it was at night. Then we're going to say that it'll be born. Then we'll say that it's mutter even if in this fancy scenario that you checked and you didn't see it, we'll rather say that it was born Erev Yom Tov and it came out drove and then it came back in again and it went out because it's impossible that it was born at night. But if it's an unfertilized egg, then it's possible that it was born at night, and in such a case it will be Yasser because you limited, you checked it right before Yom Tov came in and now in the morning, so it had to be born at night. We're not going to say that this crazy thing happened before Yom Tov. But if it would be a fertilized egg, then we rather say out of no choice, it couldn't be born at night. It must have been that was before with the Yochanan's case.
So when Rav said that Badak, he was saying to show that was the reason that it would become usher in that case, because if he wouldn't have checked, we could have assumed that it was born before Yom Tov.
Right, because it's more chance that it was born in the daytime than in the nighttime, if it's unfertilized. And that's the Gemara goes further. Ki badak, yachi ki badak nami emi yatzisa ruba b'chazra he u'chud Rabbi Yochanan. Even if you did check, why not say that still possible was born in the daytime, like in Yochanan's case that it came out drove? Gemara says that's really way out. Rabbi Yochanan lo shliach. That's not shliach at all. Period. That's in the Gemara. So what we talk about, the whole nature about a chicken giving birth to the egg at night. And the Gemara says the difference between when there's a rooster around and not. If there's a rooster around, then it doesn't lay eggs at night at all. If there's no rooster around, then it could. Also not so usual. It's more usual to be in the daytime than in the nighttime, but it could happen. And
Is there a rooster around?
when there's a rooster around, no. When there's a rooster around, then it's only in the daytime. But if there's no rooster around, then it could be at night, but also still it's more usual to be in the day. More usually like in the day. But then there's also a weird case that most of the egg came out and went back in again. That's really way out. So if you have no choice, let's say we said the case when there's a rooster around, then it's impossible to have been born at night. So then we'll say that probably it happened in Rabbi Yochanan's case, that the egg came out mostly before Yom Tov and it went back in again. This whole weird story, we'll say probably that's what happened because it couldn't have been born at night. But if there's no rooster around, so we would say that it was born in the daytime, unless it's impossible. If it's impossible because you checked out before, then we'll say that it was born at night. If that's good, well, then we get a little bonus here, 2 lines. Since this song because of the name, Rabbi Yosef ben Shol Amarav, so because he said something before, so we have another quotation from him that has to do with the sugya. A grated garlic is the danger of gilui. Same way we learned about gilui, that the snake will take a drink of the wine and the water and leave some venom over there, so you're not allowed to drink it because it's a sakana. So he says grated garlic is also something that the snake might eat from and leave some venom over, so you also wouldn't be allowed to eat it because it's dangerous. That goes back to the question about gilui in general. Nowadays, in our vicinity, we're not choshish for snakes, so people are not makbid on gilui, so they won't be makbid on this either. But in those cases, those places, you have to be makbid on gilui because maybe the snake might have drank from the wine and the water. Also, you have to be choshish for venom in grated garlic.
Tum is garlic?
Yeah, because tough and the shin is interchangeable. The shin in Hebrew is a tough so shum would be tum. We had the other day shalchomitam. We said tam is like shum. A tough and a shin is interchangeable. I mean, not interchangeable. In Aramaic, what's a shin? In Hebrew, what's a shin becomes a tough in Aramaic. Okay, if that's all good about, we finished the sugya of the Yom Tov.
Excuse me, there's just a side point. Do you know that if the shchakim is it because it's so purified that seventh heaven is something's ground up or something?
There's a heaven that's called shakim. There's a word, shachak. So the word shachak means heavens, and the Gemara is a drash. Why is it called shachak? There's a heaven that shochak imon tzaddikim. That's the place where they grind on for tzaddikim. But that's a drash.
They grind what for tzaddikim?
Man.
The man. They grind the man
That's
for the
a
tzaddikim.
drash in the Gemara Chagiga.
Thank you.
So, but that's a drash. In the Pashup Pshat, is another word. The shachak is one of the heavens, is another name for heaven, and in the drash, it doesn't have connection to grinding. And the Pshat, I'm sorry. And the Pshat is not connected to grinding, but the Gemara Chagiga does say such a drash. Okay, everything's good. Beis Yishnol to B'Yom Tov. We finished the circle of Beis Yishnol to B'Yom Tov. We passed like Beis Hillel and the Sasa.
Just one question. We said as far so maybe like Bodak Yafa.
Right.
We don't deal with that svara.
No, we just say that if there's, we said that maybe he didn't check well, and even if he did check well, like I'm sure there's a small box I looked at, there's no egg over there. So the more said that real case, it is a hard possibility that the roll came out, went back in again, and it's officially born, even though the mice didn't come out. So he didn't see it because it went in artificially.
No, but my question is, do we get credence for like Badak Yafa Yafa?
Only
So use it many times in Shas.
I don't know. Like sometimes if the
If there's an overriding Metzias, otherwise we don't say it.
I don't know another Gemara that I can hit there. I don't know what to judge it by.
The Kayan, he listened to Kayan to see if the Nafel was born into a pit.
Mhm. Okay. Sometimes if you say that he thought he saw something, but he didn't see it well. I don't recall that it says that Lashon over there, but okay. But the Mishnah mentioned a few machloks in Bisham and Beisila, and all of them he said that Beisila was a machmir. So here the second case was about chametz, and it said that Bisham says that Sa'or is kazais, but chametz is koseves. Well, chametz is only transgressive if it's a big shear the size of a date, not a small size of an olive. And Beisila is machmir.
For what?
Chametz and Pesach. And Beisil says kazais. You pass like Beisil, even the kazais chametz. Sa'or means sourdough, and chametz means something edible, bread. And Beisil, Beishama is meko that you don't transgress the avera only on the size of a koseves, a date. My tamai the Beishama. Where do they get it from? How come he doesn't say that kazais and Sa'or and chametz both of them should be a kazais? The answer is because it came with Rachman chametz by boy Sa'or. Why does the Torah mention both? It says you shouldn't be seen to you chametz nor sourdough. Why does it just say chametz? And I would know kol v'chomer. But no, I mean, ma chametz shem musikasher because Sa'or shechem musikasher like kolshkein. Sa'or is more bacteria. There's more leavening. You can't get us able to make something else become leaven. So if chametz this year is asa, it's asa. Lo yiros surely Sa'or. I would have made a kol v'chomer on my own.
There's no reaction in the store with the wheat, the flour.
I'm not following.
It's just a catalyst of leavening. But who says it's got?
That's what the leavening is. What is chametz? Leavened bread. But this has so much leavening that it can even make something else become
Meaning
leavening.
it is based on flour.
Yes, sure. We're not talking about the artificial yeast.
I'm talking about
No,
the
no,
ones
no,
you
no.
buy in the store.
Not
It doesn't
artificial
look
yeast.
like it's made out of flour.
Oh, if it's not, so then it's not chametz. We're talking about then it wouldn't be asur. I'm
You're
talking about
sourdough.
yes, real sourdough. You take flour and water and you leave it under the
That's
right
all the
conditions, and it's going to get bacteria, and you save it a couple of days. This whole process how to make sourdough. So it's
Sorry, how did we get into this Inyan? I'm sorry, but I don't, it's not from the Mishnah.
No, we finished. In the Mishnah in Beis Amud Aleph, it says three machloks in Bishama Beisilo, about Hilchos Yom Tov. We finished the whole Sugya Beis, so we finished. This is a new Mishnah, Beishama Yomer. If you look back on the Beis Amud Aleph, you'll see three machloks in. The whole thing of a Beis Yom Tov was only one line. Beis Yom Tov, Beishama says Mutter, Beisilo says Asa, period. And now.
Oh, so or because Zayas. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I get it.
Chametz Wiki Koseves, Beisilo says that Sa'or is also chametz is also kazayis. And now everyone wants to know where's the machlok. How do you get this machlokis? So Beishami says, how come it says chametz and Sa'or in the Torah? Let it just say chametz, and I would know kol v'chomer Sa'or. Sa'or is worse than chametz because Sa'or has a lot of leavening. I would have said on my own that if chametz, which is so just a strong leavening, is kazayis, so Sa'or, which is even a stronger leavening, surely it's a kazayis. So why does the Torah say Sa'or? Sa'or because of why does the Torah bother to say Sa'or? Well, I would have known by myself. Lamalach, shiyu shel zeh lo. That it must be it's two different children. If the Sa'or is more chamor, we're going to say that the one which is more chamor is going to be a kazayis, and that's Sa'or, and the one which is more lenient is going to be a bigger share. What's the biggest share after a kazayis? A koseves. This the Gemara and Yuma talked about that. There's no share in between. This is the next level. If it's not a kazayis, then it's going to be a koseves. So that's the source of Ishama. The fact that the Torah wanted to say chametz and Sa'or, I would have known it by myself. It must be you wouldn't have known it because one is going to be more chamor. One is going to be by the size of a kazayis, and the other one is going to be a koseves. And if I would have said only chametz, you would have said that the share of Sa'or is only koseves. It wants to tell you no, that it's even going to be a kazayis. That's the Shammai's drasha. What does Beisil do with that? Beisil says no, it couldn't have just chametz, and you would have known Sa'or. The same, you're thinking that it's a kal v'chomer, not such a kal v'chomer. Beisil says no, it's tzrichi. It's necessary to say both of them because of Rachman Sa'or have made a mishum lichimut sekasha. Avol chametz then lichimut sekasha imolos tzricha. This part is I'm agree to you that there is a tzad chomor in Sa'or more than chametz because Sa'or is a stronger leavening. So that's true. If I would have said Saor, I wouldn't have known Chametz. But the other way also is not true. Because Rachmana Chametz, Mishum de Roy Lachila. It's not true what he said, that it would have said Chametz, I would have known Saor. I would have said maybe only Chametz and not Saor, because Chametz, even though you're right, it's not as but it is edible. And Saor, which is not edible, maybe the Torah didn't answer that. The Torah just answered something which is edible. So it's not true what you said, Beishamai, that I should have just said Chametz, I would have known Kabul Chom Saor. I would not have known.
There's different nature to Saor and so.
Yeah, Saor is
You
stronger.
Chametz, but you wouldn't eat Saor.
It's stronger, but you don't eat it. And Chametz is not so strong, but you do eat it. So each one has a so therefore there's no Kabul Chomer. So therefore he'll both of them are Kazayas, and you couldn't just say one or the other one. I wouldn't have known one from the other. That's again, Bishamai says, well, I just said Hill now. I said Basil that both of them are Kazayas, and you have to say both of them in order to know that both of them are. Bishamai says I could have said Chametz. I would have known Saor. It must be that the different shoe. There was a problem with Beishamai that there's a Persian Russia that the Zera said that Chametz and Saor are the same thing. The more starts Beishamai less the Reb Zera. Beishamai does not do Reb Zera. Zera is a nice Russia. Then Reb Zera. Pasuk HaKosov B'Sor. Seeing b'Chametz. Lo Molocho. Zero Sor. Zero Chametz. The pasuk says don't eat Chametz. Yeah, Kol Machmetz. How does it go? Rashi brings the pasuk. Let's see. Pasuk HaKosov. It says Sor Lo. Here's the Rashi. Sor Lo Mosel B'Vatechem Ki Kol Lo Chol Machmetzes. Saor should not be found because anybody that eats machmetzes, which the Gemara is dashing now that it means chametz. You might say machmetzes means saor, that it makes chametz, but the Gemara is looking at the word machmetzes like chametz. It shouldn't be found in your house as saor because anybody that eats chametz is chayv kares. So it starts with one subject, finishes with other subject. In the mid sentence, it changes topic. So Zera said that Russia to show that's all the same. The pasuk started talking about saor, and it finished the sentence with chametz. That it's all the same. Zero saor, zero chametz. It's the same shir. So how could Beishamai argue? It's true. Reb Zera is an amora, but he has such a strong Russia. The Gemara doesn't think that he could argue. The Gemara answers he doesn't argue. Then achila koyam pligi. The machlokes Beishamai still in our Mishnah is not about eating. If you eat chametz or you eat saor, everybody agrees that it's exercise. It's true, he said before that chametz saor is not edible, but you could eat it. But dochek you could eat it also. So here it says that if you eat chametz, Beishamai also agrees that the shir is a kazais. He's not arguing on the vera to eat a kazais of chametz. He's just talking about bali ro bali masay. Then you achila koyam pligi. They're not arguing about the achila that the shir is a kazais. Ki pligi, the Indian, a little smaller.
Indian beer.
The Indian beer.
What about crumbs?
Not crumbs.
They worried about crumbs in our house.
Why are you talking about crumbs? Talking about chametz. You're not allowed to have size. Size of a size is not a crumb. Size of a chashur, size of an olive.
We worry about crumbs.
You don't have to. You don't have to worry about crumbs. You just don't eat the crumbs, but it's butter. Look, keep thinking in the first one. Beishamai Savi lo afinu bi achila, Beisel Savi afinu bi machila. According to Beishamai, there's a difference between eating and the mitzvah to destroy it. That shouldn't be in your possession. By eating it, kazayis. Chametz is a kazayis, but by destroying it, that it shouldn't be in your possession, only if it's a koseva, size of the date. But Beisel Savi, because according to Beishamai, you can have chametz lying around that's only a kazayis, as long as it's not a koseva. Because like Beisel, even a kazayis also. Beisel Savi afinu Savi bi machila. Both of them are the same way that by achila, the shir is a kazayis, beer also is a kazayis. Chametz is a kazayis, even that bali rabbi matzah is also a kazayis.
So basically, always do that.
Kazayis. Halacha l'maisa.
Also bali rabbi
matzah, right. Chametz or bali rabbi matzah. We fast like Basila. Just remember that maskana at least that the point of this we fast like Basila that both chametz and saor, both for achila and for bali rabbi matzah is a kazayis. So Shammai said that chametz for bali rabbi is a kosevus. We're gonna fast like that. Itmanami, there was going to be a couple of lines more to support what we just said. Itmanami, we learn so. I'm Yosef Barchanina, Machlokes in the view. Machlokes B'Sham B'Yisrael is only as far as destroying the chametz. Bali Yom Bali Motzei. I believe in Achila, they are called Zev Kazais. As far as the Issa to eat it, everybody holds that as a kazais. Even Meshamai says also chametz is kazais. Tani Namiyachi is also a brayse that supports that. Chametz, or Zeh Machlokes B'Sham B'Yisrael. Machlokes is by Bali Ruah. When it says it should not be seen, chametz should not be seen, so that's the machlokes case. Shebesham yom imsor b'kazayis chametz b'kaseves. We say lom zeh b'kazayis. That's what Beishamai says that chametz is a koseves. The issue of lo yeruah, and Beishamai says even that's a kazayis. But as far as eating, everybody holds that it's kazayis. And halacha l'maaseh pasuk Beishamai that even bali yeruah is also kazayis. Next Gemara. And now we'll go to the third machlokes in the Mishnah about Ashochet Chayav Of B'Yom Tov. What does the Mishnah say? Back to Beis Aleph. Over there it says if someone shechs a Chayav Of, which is Chayav Kisei Adam, so you want to shech, I'm Jant if you're allowed to shech, but you have to do Kisei Adam and you have no earth prepared. So if you have earth prepared, that's the best thing. You have some earth that's prepared, that you do the Kisei Adam, everything's fine. But you didn't have, so are you allowed to dig on the Yantif to get the earth in order to cover the blood? So that's going to be the subject now.
I'm sorry, in the Mishnah, you mentioned that the decker was in the earth already.
It didn't say that. That's going to be the Gemara. The Gemara that says, Yachbar B'dek, you're saying the Gemara. The Mishnah that says, Yachbar B'dek B'yachasa. The words are, dig with the dagger and cover. You're saying the words of the Gemara coming up at the bottom of the page. That is going to say that it had a decker nose. It just says, Yachbar B'dek B'yachasa. That means dig with the shovel and cover.
Oh, Yachbar.
Yachbar B'deker B'yachasa. The decker is some kind of a hoe, a shovel. Dig with the shovel and cover. So it seems to say, Bishama says that it's okay to dig, and Beisil says no. We'll go to the Gemara, we'll see if Bishama Mamash means you're allowed to dig, we'll see. But first, if one wants to know, the sugya we first talks about now is, the Machlokes Bishama Beisil is Lachatchila or B'diavad. If you're coming to Shecht, you didn't Shecht yet. Are you allowed to Shecht with Beishamai? Is Beishamai going to allow to Shecht? And then, and with the purpose, you don't have any earth, you're going to have to dig. Does he allow you to do that? Only after you Shechted. If you Shechted B'diavad and now you have to cover the blood, then he'll allow you to dig in order to cover the blood. So first thing I want to start off the word Ashochet. The word Ashochet usually sounds b'diavad. If somebody shechted, Ashochet. If he shechted, so then dig and cover the blood. But
even though shechet is a Russian present, however, with problem.
Yeah, it doesn't say shachar. It says Ashochet. But the more takes that also to mean b'diavad. If he did Ashochet.
In the past, over.
It doesn't say shochet. It should have said shochet adam chayvov v'yamtiv. Not the hashochet. It should have said that you may do it. A person may shecht. Hashochet means if somebody shechted. So the Gemara takes Bishama only b'diavad. That's the Gemara starts off. And by the way, the Gemara is going to ask that. It doesn't say that in the Mishnah because it says that's what we call the Mishnah. Over there it says Hashochet is machlokes. Bishama says dig and Bisil says don't dig. And Bisil is molded that if you shechted that you may dig. So it says fairish that Bisil is molded with Diavad. But the Gemara is going to take a couple lines to figure that out, and it's going to come out that it's wrong. Bishama is mati even lachatchila. But the Gemara starts off like this: Hashochet is mashma Diavad and lachatchila. Okay, so Bishama is only mati with Diavad. If you shechted, then you may dig in order to cover the blood. Ema seifa. Continue reading. Bisil says don't shech. That's talking about lachatchila. That means that we're talking about on lachatchila level. Bisil says don't do it. Bishama says do it. Isn't that mashma that Beishamai says you may do it l'chatchila? You may shecht with the intention. You didn't shecht yet. You may shecht with the intention of digging in order to get the earth.
It's cooler. The Beishamai is cooler.
Yes, surely cooler. But the question is how much are they making? Even l'chatchila, only b'diavad. Did you shecht already? Then he says I shechted and I have no earth. Okay, so dig and get earth. Or even if you didn't shecht yet, no emergency, we tell him go ahead shecht and you can dig. It's fine. So first the Gemara says only mashma b'diavad, but Beisil says don't do it. Lachatchila is mashma the talk on a lachatchila level, which would imply that Beishamai says even lachatchila you may do it. The Gemara says halakasha. That wouldn't bother us. Lo yishchot v'yachasa kama. Maybe the Beisil just means not he says don't shecht. It means don't cover the blood, and it means b'diavad. Maybe Beisil also means the Gemara is trying to push off. Even when it says lo yishchot, elam kain yesh lo, only if he has ofa mukhan, he means don't shecht and cover the blood. The shechting, the Gemara is trying to push off. Even though it says lo yishchot, it only means b'diavad. So at this point, the Gemara is trying to say that Beishamai is only mati b'diavad because it says ashochet. But he himself would not be mati l'chatchila to shecht if you have no earth. But ema seifa, read on. This is impossible. It says it says Beisil's moed b'diavad you're allowed to cut dig. So when the machlokes is going on, it's talking about the chatchila. So we've proven that Beishamai is matir to do it even the chatchila. But the question is that the word Ashochet sounds like b'diavad. That's the most kasha. The whole Mishnah is muchach based Shama is not even lachatchila to dig in order to shecht. You didn't shecht yet. You're allowed to dig. You're allowed to shecht and dig.
Knowing that you're going to dig out.
Yes, and Beisil, and the question is, it says Ashochet. That's the big kasha. Ashochet is mashma b'diavad. So the more explains, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean he shechted already. It means he came to ask the shochet. Means the shochet. He's coming to. He asked, what should I do? Okay, he said, omalo. What it means like the shochet, the shochet. What about the shochet? He came to ask. Or if he's shechting, a shochet means he's coming to shecht. So what does he do? Yeah, he asked the Rav, what should I do? To take counsel, to get advice. Lo, Keser Omelo, what do you tell him? Beshama Omrim, Omelo, Shchot Chafar B'Chasei. Shecht, dig, and cover. It means we tell him, go ahead, shecht, it's okay, you can shecht, you can dig also. But Beisel Omrim, Lo Yishchot Elam Kenai Lo Muchan Abod Yom. Beisel says, don't shecht. So we could really stop at this point. We're not stopping for the night there, if we go a couple of lines more. But the issue that the Gemara says, even though it says Ashochet, it means Lachatchila. Even though the word Ashochet usually means B'diavad, here it means Lachatchila. Fine. So the machlokes is Lachatchila, if you're allowed to dig, if you're allowed to shecht in order, and you know you're gonna have to dig in order to do Kisi Adam. Bishami says you may, Bishol says no. Bishol is motive. We're gonna say like Bishil that you may not. B'diavad, it says we'll get to the B'diavad, Bishil also agrees that you may. But now the Gemara goes off. Interesting how the Gemara does it, but we just make a transition now. And in the words that we're saying now, that everyone holds, according to Bishamai, Lachatchila will tell them go ahead. But there's a little difference here, the way Rabbah said it and the way Rabbi Yosef said it. Rabbah said, we tell him, Shchot, Chafor, B'Chasei. Shecht, dig, and cover. And Rabbi Yosef is going to say the same thing, Mamish, but he just uses the different order between these two words. Shchot and Chafor, he's going to say Chafor, Shchot. On the screen, if you look at second on the screen, Shchot, Chafor, B'Chasei, this is Rabbah talking. And then Rabbi Yosef, in 2 lines later, he's going to say, 2 lines down, Chafor, Shchot, B'Chasei. Either right, first dig.
In other words, that's the only real way you do it, is to the digging.
So both of them say the same thing, that you're allowed to do lachatchila, but the question is, do we tell them dig and then shecht, or shecht and then dig? The Gemara is going to talk about that soon. Let's see. The Gemara is going to explain everything. But the main point the Gemara wants to say, both of them are saying that Beishamai says even lachatchila. That's the main point we're talking about first. Then the Gemara is going to open up this difference, this small distinction that one said shecht and dig, and one said dig and shecht. Okay, so Rabbi said that we tell him, if he comes to ask a question, we tell him shecht, dig, and cover. Beishamai says don't. Although fine. Rav Yosef said the same thing over in Mamish word for word, except for this little difference. Rav Yosef said, this is what Bishamai meant to say. The Shochet came to ask advice. What do we tell him? Bishamai says, dig, shecht, and cover. Don't shecht only if you have prepared earth. Anyway, as far as the subject we started was, even though Bishamai says a shochet, it doesn't mean the evidence, it means even a chatchila. Aga, we went into a side point now that do we tell him shecht and dig, or do we tell him dig and shecht? What's the difference about that?
So you want shecht and he's digging for north.
So the Gemara starts. Abai Yosef. Abai said to Rav Yosef, who's one of the two people, Rabbi and Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is the one who said dig and shecht. So Abai told Rav Yosef, you must be arguing, you and Rabbi must be arguing about something. You and Rabbi seem to be arguing about the din of Rab Zera Marav. What is Rab Zera Marav? Rab Zera Marav. What's the din of Kisi Adam? You shecht it and you have to cover the blood. You have to cover it only on top, or you put the earth also under the blood. If you put the earth under the blood, then you have to dig first in order to have earth ready, and you shecht onto the blood. So you, who said Rabbi Yosef, who said dig and then shecht, is because you only have to have earth under the blood. But Rabbah, who didn't say that, he said shecht and then dig, it sounds like he has no earth under the blood. So he must be arguing on Rav. Rav says you have to have earth under the blood also.
Prepared.
You have to shecht onto the blood. The blood has to go, I'm sorry, the blood has to go onto the earth. The blood has to go onto the earth. So if you have no earth, you can't shecht because you have to cover the blood from on bottom also. So Abaya uncovered here machlokes between Rabbah and Rav Yosef as far as Rav Zera and Rav, because Rav Zera and Rav said when a person shechts, he has to put earth on bottom and earth on top. How do you get that? The pasuk says that when you shecht, you should cover it be'ofor. It could have said v'shafachas damo v'chiso ofor. It could have said not be'ofor. It could have said ofor. What does that teach? That teaches us that you have to put offer also on bottom. So you must hold like Rab Zera or Rav, and Rabbah must argue. The Mar is later Rab Zera, Rabbah, let's say the Rab Zera. The fact that you said first dig and then shecht, that sounds like you hold like Rab Zera or Rav, that you have to have earth on the bottom. And Rabbah doesn't say that. He says shecht and then dig. Sounds like he doesn't have earth on the bottom. Are you arguing about that? Amalei. So Rav Yosef said, no, he also agrees to me. Both of us hold like that you have to have earth on the bottom. I surely do. And even my opponent, Rabbah, he also holds that you have to. So how come he says shecht and then dig? You're not going to have earth on the bottom. This is what we're arguing about. Rabbah Savar, yes, you have to have earth on the bottom. And the Rabbi says if you don't have earth on the bottom, then the Beis Shammai does not allow you to shecht. Only shecht if you could shecht without digging. And then for the earth that you have to put on top of the blood, you're allowed to dig. But I'm not going to allow you to dig and then to shecht. Why not? What's the problem? Why not dig and get the earth ready and then shecht, and then you can put the earth on top again? Because he's going to dig, and then he's going to decide he's not going to shecht. So he digged up for nothing. So Beis Shammai is not going to be matir. He also means you have to have earth on the bottom. So if you have earth on the bottom already, you have that much you have. You have earth prepared on the bottom. But now you have to have earth on the top also. And then he says, can I shecht? Can I dig? So we tell him yes. If you only have to have earth on the top, so then you can shecht because we know that you're serious and you shechted. And then for the earth on the top, then we can let you dig.
But if you don't have like good.
No, the Gemara is saying, again, the Gemara is saying everybody holds like a Zayim Rab, that when the Hilchos Kisi Adam means that you also have to have blood under you have to have earth under the blood, but he's not going to allow you to shecht on Yom Tov in order to put earth under the blood, because you might just dig and get the earth and then not shecht. And they did it for nothing. And I said that I hold that I'm not choshesh for that. Uvidi, me, if Yosef I say, Padifa, it's better to be matir him to shecht in order to dig in order to get earth to put on the bottom, and don't be choshesh that maybe he's not going to shecht, because according to you, so in some cases he's not going to be able to shecht if he doesn't have earth prepared for the bottom. He's losing out that he's not going to have chicken. He wants to shecht the bird for Yom Tov, and you're telling him only if you have earth prepared at least for the bottom, then I'll let you to shecht him and then dig in order to get earth on the top. But if you don't have earth prepared, I'm going to answer you. So he's not going to be able to have to shecht his bird for Yom Tov. So I don't want to make the gzera. Okay, that's as far as our Gemara took us today. And tomorrow, regular day, Bez Hashem. So 11 o'clock this year, Bez Hashem.
Rabbi calls everybody to know that there's going to be mincha here today, tomorrow at 1:10. We have Siddur and
Mincha at 1:10 tomorrow.
So whoever wants to come, Ruvain,